going to be a negotiations of both having interests. So I would think it'd be interest negotiating that, you know, these obviously got interests, you've got interests, and hopefully the two can be brought together. And
so worst case scenario, we put up the building and we can't come to an agreement on that lease sale.
well,
we own a building?
we wouldn't put the building up until we had that lease purchase signed. I don't think I could, you know, if I were here, I would not recommend the council entering into any agreement to award a bid unless we had that lease purchase pretty well figured out. So that's gonna give us roughly, you know, a month of time at least to work on those terms and to figure out how that might all come together, if it's gonna come together. And if you're not gonna do it, and you can't come to a number, then there's no reason to think you're gonna have a lease purchase, because it ain't gonna happen. And so, but I think everybody has to know, can we, if we fight our way through those issues, can we get this building built? And I think we can pay for it, and if we know those things and everybody's comfortable, then you'll have a deal. The only other way it would happen, if for us to end up with a building, would we go through all this, we have agreement and everything starts, and somehow in 4 years the world of science changes and they outlaw nanotechnology and say you can't be in business no more, he has to stop, and now you got a building. So the question, one of the questions I think that we glossed over, the committee looked at, is this building usable for something else? Because you don't want it to just be a one purpose and done building. And the architect feels strongly that yes, it'll have some enhancements and be a very nice building, but it can be used for other functions. And I think that's just as important, because you don't want to own something that's just single purpose. So that's how I see it flowing out. And I think if we, because there's so much pressure on how to generate those formulas, and certainly the community's going to come from here and they're going to come from there, somewhere we got to get them to meet in the middle, and we'll have a deal.
Now, in the car world, there's closed-end leases and open-end leases. Not that I know a lot about either one, but essentially a closed-end lease would say that in our agreement, we're gonna put up the building, and in 5 years, you're gonna buy it. And it's gonna cost you this many dollars to buy the building. And from there, we would say, here's the credits you get, but here's the number that he can budget for in 5 years. On the other hand, if an open-end lease, we could say, in 5 years, we want you to buy it, and at that time, we're gonna have the building appraised. And now, in a way, someone that has nothing to do with either of us says, this building is worth this much. Now we take your credits off of that number. Whether it goes up or goes down, it's a situation of that nature. And I don't know, and I'm not gonna even ask if he has a timeline as far as, because that's in the negotiations that we'll do later, but you know, I don't know if 5 years is a realistic thing or not.
Well, I think we need to look at, you know, the business, the type of business he's creating, and because it's somewhat uncharted territory, it probably demands a little more openness, and instead of being quite so fixed, and perhaps set targets in there that allow him to make choices at times, because there will be different days that he has different value, and it also then incentivizes, I think, to, you know, do better quicker, because if we structure it right, we can show less benefit if he exercises longer than if he exercises early. And I think if we look at what other communities have done, I'm just using 5 years because that's a normal target, but we may want to do a target at 4 years and, you know, see how we might structure it and how it might work out. And he may find that more palatable. On the other hand, we don't want to...
We need to give him 4 years and the option to get 4 more.
Yeah.
But then the negotiations will have to change, and those some of the things will have to be adjusted for the times, if you will, if that's what we need to do.
And I think a big part of the EDA job over the next month, let's say it's a month that you're doing this over. You know, I mean, I'm not deaf, I hear this from people all the time about, you know, what's the value of a job? It's not worth a doggone thing to this community, you know, I don't know why you guys are doing that. And so you're gonna have to develop a sales approach, if you will, for the community to say, this is why these things are important, and help the community understand, because there's gonna be older people here that just don't fully quite get that. And it'll take, you know, a sales job, maybe amongst yourselves, I don't know, but it's certainly there. It'll take a sales job to help them understand why those jobs are important and what they do for the community and how they'll change Rushford, hopefully for the positive, so.
A suggestion of my own would be that the value of that job, and it just puts more work onto our shoulders, but it also puts a little bit of incentive on his shoulders, that the value of that job is worth something, but it's worth a lot more if that person is living here in town. That's the hard.
It'll be a tough one.
It's a tough one, but, you know, a value of a job in the city, when they take their check and bring it back to Winona, isn't worth much in this town.
Yeah.
But a value of a job that somebody's living here and paying taxes and buying their things here, suddenly that's worth something more.
Oh, I think on paper you could absolutely.
And I would hope that that would give some push on his part, that say, well, geez, you know, I want you to work here, and I'd really like you to live here, because you living here makes me money.
And I would offer you this, if you, what my fear would be, and the downside I see of that, is that you could force the employer into doing things that are not for the benefit of the community employee or himself, ultimately for the gain that he might get.
I know that
Now,
that's a
having
very
said
open
that-
statement I've made, that there could be.
having said that, you could pair that with a program that allows him to have tools that would incentivize people, like if I came to apply for a job, to actually live here, and give him access to those tools. I think then you've made it a fair table for him to have a reason to make him get here, and if they get him here and use those tools, it's obviously worth more to you as people in this community, in my mind, but that's just my thought. I mean, I share a lot of what you think, but you gotta be careful.
That's the other problem we run into when we start doing it on job, value of job, you know, and I get what you're saying with local versus residential, but we also know we have a housing situation there.
Well, that's what I
you know,
said.
What do we
Puts
have
more
for
work on our
availability
shoulders.
here? And then is it local versus, you know, 10-mile residents versus, you know, 5 miles versus, you know, we get down to, that gets to such a minutia that how would that ever be figured out, the true value there?
I mean, there's people that live in town that don't buy anything here, so what's the value of their job? It all boils out some way or another. I'm just saying that would be something we should look at as an incentive.
Does beer count?
Pardon me? Beer?
In a German community, anyway.
Not here, no.
Not in the Norwegian community. And I guess it brings up some interesting, some scenarios, maybe. What, if this is a $1.6 million building, what are taxes on it?
That's why I haven't been able to get a number for you yet.
In current,
I've got it over to the county, we're looking at it and trying to evaluate it to give me an idea, because I need that for Mike to be able to show you what the values and how that would translate into a tax increment district.